Monday began with this best news of my life. I had been promoted. After years of struggle, sleepless nights, and sacrifices that only I will ever know, the reward had finally come. I went home with a heart full of pride, ready to share with my wife what I believed was the beginning of a new chapter for us. But the moment I stepped through the door, I sensed that something was about to ruin this victory. She was in the kitchen, stirring a pot, but her phone was on the counter on speaker, and I heard it with perfect clarity, the sentence no one ever expects to hear inside their own home. He'll never find out. He's always buried in work. The world stopped. That wasn't a stranger's voice. It was my wife's. The friend on the other end of the line laughed and said, "Relax. When he gets the promotion, then you file for divorce. The alimony will be much higher." A chill went through my body. Between one stir of the pot and the next, she confirmed what I hadn't even dared to imagine. She was cheating on me, and she was following her friend's script, planning to wait for me to climb the corporate ladder just to bleed me dry in court. It wasn't just infidelity, it was cold calculation, a parasitic conspiracy against me. I didn't say a word. I just turned on my heel, went back to the car, and sat there, motionless, trying to breathe. My blood was boiling. My mind screamed at me to storm into the kitchen and expose everything right then and there. But another voice inside me urged for calm. I knew that if I wanted to win this war, I had to be smarter than both of them. So I stayed there, in the silence of the car, forcing myself to think clearly. Only after I had composed myself did I go back inside. I found my wife, with the same fake smile she always wore, acting as if nothing was wrong, as if she were still the faithful partner I believed I had. But in that moment, I already knew who she really was, a snake in disguise, ready to strike. And this time, I would not be the prey. I've worked for years as a geologist for a mineral exploration company. It's a tough job, often far from home, surrounded by maps, rocks, and calculations. But I always believed it was worth it, because I thought all that sweat would be rewarded within my own home. We were married for 14 years, a life built together, or so I thought. We never had children. We tried, of course. We went through clinics, consultations, expensive treatments that drained our savings and our hope. After years of failed attempts, the truth became undeniable. Her body wouldn't allow it. It was hard for me to accept because I had always dreamed of being a father. But I chose to stay. I chose her. I decided that if we couldn't be three, we would be two, and that would be enough. Over time, I realized that this sacrifice was a one-way street. She never held a stable job. She jumped from one position to another, never satisfied, always finding fault. Then, 5 years into our marriage, she gave up on working altogether. "It's just not for me," she'd say, and that was that. From then on, I paid for everything: the bills, the house, and even her whims, which grew in proportion to how my salary seemed to shrink. I never complained. I played the role of the provider, believing it was part of love, part of the mission I signed up for on our wedding day. I had no idea this devotion would be used against me. While I carried the weight of our life, she was already sketching out ways to turn my effort into currency for her own gain. That's why, when I heard that conversation in the kitchen, everything clicked. I wasn't her husband, I was an investment. To this day, I can still hear the sound of the spoon against the pot, mixed with her voice on speakerphone. It was the most ordinary domestic scene, poisoned by the cruelest words I had ever heard. It wasn't just the betrayal that crushed me. It was the casual way she discussed it, as if plotting my ruin was just another household chore. My mind collapsed. It was as if all our years of marriage were playing before my eyes in slow motion. Every memory, every gesture of affection, every promise whispered in the dark. It was all contaminated. I no longer saw love. I saw only self-interest. The indignation came in waves. First, the pain of knowing the woman I had built my life around saw me not as a husband, but as a meal ticket. Then, the anger at myself for having accepted so much, for carrying everything alone, believing we were in it together. Deep down, she had already turned me into a bank account with a social security number. Right there, I understood I couldn't act on impulse. If I exploded, I would lose more than my dignity. I needed to think like they were thinking, strategically. From that moment on, I decided I would not be the victim. I would be the one to direct the next act of this story. And it was with that bitter clarity that I plotted my first move, to seek help where they would least expect it. After days of silently replaying everything in my mind, I decided I couldn't face this alone. I needed someone who understood the game and could teach me how to play it better. That's when I remembered a lawyer I followed on Instagram. She had a reputation for being tough, a specialist in divorce cases, known for defending men who were about to lose everything. I booked a consultation. I brought her every detail of my story. I explained what I had overheard, showed her receipts, bank statements, even the records of all the expenses I had covered alone during our marriage. She listened calmly, took notes, and at the end, she was direct. You need to protect yourself now. Don't wait for her to make a move. If you do, by the time the process starts, you'll have already lost half the battle. She explained that the affair, once proven, could become a powerful card in the proceedings. Even though she is financially dependent on you, she said, if we can prove infidelity, the judge may deny her alimony. What seems like your weakness right now can become your strength. For the first time, I saw that my pain could be turned into a legal weapon. I left her office with a clear list of steps. The first was to organize all the evidence: messages, expenses, medical records from the treatments, documents that showed she had never contributed financially. The second was to protect my money, transfers, secure investments, nothing joint anymore. And above all, to gather clear signs of the affair, to leave no room for denial. I had to prepare the battlefield before the war broke out. While she thought she was fooling me, I was already planning every move to turn the tables in court. I maintained the routine of an ordinary husband, but in practice, I was a different man. I kept smiling at dinner, asking about her day, faking normalcy. But in secret, I was organizing every piece of evidence: receipts, statements, medical records, all in secure folders. But I was still missing the most important piece: proven infidelity. The unvarnished truth came from a spy app on her phone. Messages that stole my sleep started flooding my dashboard. I discovered, beyond any doubt, who the lover was: a friend of her friend, someone I had even met before, because they both frequented the same gym that I paid for. The height of irony: I was even paying for the place where she betrayed me. The conversations between them were explicit. He called her my escape. She melted into cheap promises. With her friend, the dialogues were even crueler. The two of them plotted like partners in a heist. One of her messages to her friend was pure venom. It was 14 years of putting up with him for what he could give me. If I couldn't have children to help me in my old age, at least I have to secure my future with our money. Every word was saved. Screenshots, audio files, dates, all archived in a secure cloud. Now, it wasn't just my word against hers. It was irrefutable, documentary proof. And every night, she slept beside me, believing she had already won the game. I smiled to myself. While she was laughing with her lover at the gym I paid for, I was collecting the evidence that would destroy her in court. A few days later, I had already been to the courthouse with my lawyer. The divorce was filed, signed, and accompanied by all the evidence. Messages from the spy app, screenshots of conversations with her lover, the venomous dialogues with her friend, and bank statements showing that for 14 years she had been nothing but a dependent. It wasn't a threat, it was official. The right moment came when she invented another night out with her friend. But thanks to the spy app, I knew the truth. There was no girls' night. Her destination was her lover. I waited for the door to close, listened to the silence fill the house, and understood it was time to act. I went into the bedroom, took my clothes from the closet, and folded each piece calmly. This wasn't an escape, it was strategy. I put everything in the car and drove to my sister's house. She knew everything and was waiting for me with open arms. She had been my safe harbor through this entire process, and now she was my temporary refuge. Before I left for good, I placed the envelope with the divorce papers on the kitchen counter. On top, I left a handwritten note with no room for misunderstanding. Good luck convincing your lover to support you. I didn't need to say anything else. It was all there. The end of the marriage, the proof of the affair, and the sentence she never expected to receive from me. When she returned and saw those papers, it wouldn't just be her husband's absence waiting for her. It would be the downfall she had dug for herself. Around midnight, all hell broke loose. Judging by the time, I figured she had come home, found the empty counter, the note, and the papers. My phone vibrated on the nightstand at my sister's house. First one call, then another. I didn't answer. Silence was my cruelest weapon. Then came the messages, one after another, from initial disdain. What is this? Have you gone crazy? To sheer desperation. Please answer me. We need to talk. She tried on every mask and sequence. The sarcastic one, the victim, the repentant wife. Each notification was proof that her real face had been exposed. I didn't yield. I waited for the flood to turn into a plea. When I finally decided to respond, I wrote a single sentence. Talk to my lawyer. It was short, cold, and final. There was no room for tears or manipulation. At that moment, not only had the marriage ended, but so had her power game. That night, for the first time in 14 years, she understood that the one who had lost everything wasn't me, it was her. In the days that followed, my phone never stopped. Calls, voicemails, late night texts. But it wasn't love, it was desperation. She knew no lover was going to offer her the comfortable life I had been paying for over a decade. And suddenly, I was the love of her life, the irreplaceable man. When she realized that act wasn't working on me, she tried to use her friend as a bridge. "Let me talk to him. I can calm the situation down," her accomplice said, pretending to be a mediator when in reality, she just wanted to save her own skin. I ignored them all. If anyone had something to say, they could say it to my lawyer. A few days later, when she saw that no performance was having an effect, her tone changed. The messages went from crying to threats. "You will regret this. I have my rights, and I will come after every last cent that belongs to me." That's when I realized the emotional war was over. Now, the legal war would begin. And so, with the cards on the table, the battle moved to the one place she was sure she'd win: the courtroom. The courtroom was the final stage. She walked in with the confidence of someone who still believed in simple math. A community property state meant half for each. In her head, 14 years of marriage was an automatic right to walk away rich. But she forgot that this time, it wasn't just me against her. It was me and a prepared lawyer, armed to the teeth with proof. The hearing began with her demands: half of the assets, plus a demand for monthly support to maintain her standard of living. But the first bomb dropped quickly. The judge made it clear that, given the proven infidelity, there would be no alimony. The bucket of cold water hit her squarely in the face. All that was left was the division of assets. That's when my lawyer disarmed her, piece by piece. She started with the house, a two-story home still under a mortgage, bought 8 years into the marriage, but always paid for entirely by me. The judge ruled that she was entitled only to half of the equity already paid off, which, ironically, would be reduced by the funds she had diverted to finance her affair. The judge also ordered her to vacate the property within 30 days, time to pack her things and disappear from my life. After that period, possession would be entirely mine. Next, the cars. I had a truck purchased before the marriage, which was untouchable. The sedan, bought during the union, was awarded to her, but with one condition: she had to assume the remaining payments on her own. The gift became a burden, and I saw the frustration in her eyes as she realized it was no prize at all. Then came the investments. Many were from before the marriage or from an inheritance, automatically excluded from the division. The small amount that was left was further reduced because my lawyer proved that part of the money had been used by her to pay for the gym, motels, dinners, and even gifts for her lover. That evidence was devastating. The judge recognized bad faith and made it clear she would not allow unjust enrichment at my expense. The sentence was ruthless: a reduced settlement, no alimony, and the main assets protected as mine. She walked away with a car in debt and only a fraction of the house's value, far less than she had planned to extort. The look of defeat on her face was proof that justice had been served. In the end, she didn't just lose the life of luxury she had been leading. She lost her innocent facade, revealing herself as nothing more than an unmasked opportunist. And she discovered, far too late, that when you dig your own grave, you eventually have to lie in it. 30 days after the verdict, she packed her bags and left the house. She didn't go to the meddling friend who had always interfered in our lives. She never even managed to marry him, made some excuse about her rented apartment not having enough space. But her destiny was something else entirely. At the peak of her 46 years, she had to move back in with her retired parents. She was forced to face the reality she had always avoided: waking up early, going to work every day, and surviving on a meager salary. The life of luxury she loved to flaunt on social media was over. Her elderly parents couldn't afford expensive restaurants, designer clothes, or a high-end gym. What were once her whims had now become a heavy burden. The affair with her lover didn't last either. He was only 35, younger, and it was obvious he was never going to commit to her fully. For him, it was an adventure, never a life plan. When he realized she no longer had the comfort I paid for, he vanished, and she was left alone. Without a lover, without a husband, without the life of luxury she so desperately demanded. 3 months later, she had the audacity to try and contact me. Messages asking to talk, speaking of forgiveness and regret. But what I saw wasn't remorse. It was desperation. The weight of having to earn a living without a shortcut was crushing her. I read every message, but I didn't reply to a single one. My silence was the answer she deserved. Until one day, as I was leaving the building where I worked, the inevitable happened. A face-to-face encounter. She was leaning against the gate, waiting. My heart raced for a second, but then it calmed. I owed her nothing. She took 2 steps forward and tried to smile, but it was a tired, sad smile. I, on the other hand, had changed. I had decided to take care of myself. I joined a gym, fixed my diet, slept better. In just a few months, I was like a different man. Lighter, stronger, even younger. The difference between us was glaring. She looked as if she had aged a decade. Deep, dark circles under her eyes, her hair unkempt, her clothes simple. Her lip trembled when she saw me up close, her eyes scanning my body as if trying to reclaim what she had lost. "Can we talk?" she ventured, her voice low, almost begging. "There's nothing left to say," I replied, my tone even. "I made a mistake. You don't understand. I was confused, but I still love you." Love. Love doesn't demand alimony while you're sleeping with another man. Look at you and look at me. Do you see the difference? I grew without you. You sank without me. She tried to get closer, her hands trembling. "I regret it. I swear. I can change." I shook my head, firm. Regret doesn't bring back respect. And you lost mine the day you chose a cheap lover over the life you had with me. She tried to approach, but I took a step back. In that instant, a question hammered in my head. What did I ever find so attractive in her all those years ago? Because standing before me, there was nothing left. No beauty, no charm, no dignity. Just the weight of wrong choices and the emptiness of someone reaping what they sowed. I didn't prolong it. I walked past her with the same calm she never knew how to possess. Behind me, I heard muffled sobs, but I didn't look back. She no longer deserved even my compassion. It's been a year since the divorce. she had to start over from scratch, all because she couldn't honor the promises made at the altar. And I, with every day that passed, without having to fund her whims, watched my money grow. It was as if she had been a weight tied to my back, preventing my true earnings from ever showing. When I let her go, I realized just how much further I could go without her. In the end, I wasn't the one who lost. She was. She traded a secure life for the illusion of a lover and her own greed. And so, family, do you see the irony? She spent 14 years scheming and waiting for the right moment to strike. In the end, she lost everything, not just the marriage. She lost the comfort, the lover, and even the pretense of being a self-assured woman. Today, she lives on a small salary, while he only prospers. Moral of the story: betrayal doesn't build a future, only misery and shame. And now, I want to hear from you. If this were you, would you give a second chance after that kind of regret? Or would you do what he did and turn your back without a second glance? Leave your opinion in the comments below. While you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, sound effect, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Here, every week, we bring you more stories and more lessons that life teaches in the hardest way possible.